Today's video is made possible by Opie, a flexible action camera that doesn't require any accessories. The Apple Watch Series 4 is a really exciting smartwatch. Personally, I couldn't wait to get my hands on one. A lot of people were more excited for the new Apple Watch this year than for the new iPhones, and when I went to pick one up at the store, they were sold out of the model that I wanted. The Series 4 still has room for improvement, but it definitely lives up to the hype. Today, we're going to talk about the new design, new watch faces, Siri, performance and battery life upgrades, and the new health and fitness features, among other things. Let's start off with the design, which is the first full redesign since the original debuted back in 2015, and which definitely looks nicer and a bit sleeker than the Series 3. I upgraded from a 42mm Series 3 to a 44mm Series 4, which doesn't really feel any different on my wrist, but I absolutely do appreciate the more than 30% larger display. As soon as I purchased one, got out in the car, opened the box, put it on my wrist, turned it on, I could immediately see the benefits of this larger screen. Things are just easier to read, tap, and generally interact with. A few design changes that I'm really into include the thinner design, the now flush side button, and the digital crown's new and very satisfying haptic feedback whenever you scroll. The speaker is now 50% louder, which is great. I especially like that Siri's answers are louder now, but to be honest, it's not quite loud enough for me to prefer making phone calls on it versus on my phone or on something like AirPods. In my Series 3 review, I railed against the ugly giant red dot on the LTE model last year, so I'm glad that it's been reduced to a more tasteful outline this year, and it's also nice that all my old watch bands fit. After using the ceramic Apple Watch Edition for all of last year, I decided to give the aluminum another shot this year, and there are a lot of things that I like about it. It's definitely lighter and more comfortable. The downside with that aluminum though is that I worry more about scratches because I get flashbacks to the original Series 0 that I had, which was an aluminum, and I used to nick it just like on the treadmill by accidentally hitting the side or something. So I feel like I have to be a lot more careful now. I think the new stainless steel gold color looks nice. I'm sure a lot of people will really like it, but it just didn't really feel like my personal style. Moving on to watch faces, there are two new exclusives for the Series 4, the infograph and the modular infograph. I said a long time ago that I wanted a watch face with more complications, and technically the infograph watch face is just what I wanted, but it's not quite what I envisioned. Here's something I find interesting. The original Apple Watch ditched the traditional circular watch design because the designers knew they were doing something different and they didn't have to be held hostage to that particular shape. But here with the infograph face, we have that same analog circular design that they've crammed 8 complications around, like just because. And so my question is, why? Now the modular infograph face is a little bit closer to what I was hoping for, but it only gives us 6 complications instead of 8, and the large middle complication just isn't supported by very many apps yet. Now, I hadn't planned on saying this, but I feel like saying it. I really wish that Apple would have some sort of requirement for iPhone app developers, to support complications on the Apple Watch, because a bunch of my favorite apps don't have complications either at all or that work with the new watch face, and it's really disappointing. Still, though, the infograph face has been what I've been using the most. It's become my default workday watch face because functionally it's more useful than anything that was previously available. Now, the other watchOS 5 animated faces look nice, but personally I never actually use them. And I have to say, I am a big fan of the colorful Nike Plus face. It's great for just chilling out on the weekends or after work, and it just looks good. Now, third-party watch faces still aren't a thing, and I know a lot of people really want that. They want it to be like a watch face store, similar to an app store. I have mixed feelings about this, because on the one hand, you would have more options, but on the other hand, I've seen a bunch of developers' attempts at making watch faces, and honestly, I don't know how else to say this. They just look like they belonged on Android. Now there's some good and some bad when it comes to Siri, which I use all the time on my Apple Watch to do things like add reminders or calendar events, check sports scores, or just ask simple questions. Keyword being simple, right? I was excited to try the new Raise to Speak feature, which actually was a little tricky to get at first until I figured out that it only works after you've literally raised your wrist and then talk. It doesn't work if you've just been using the watch and then try to talk to it. Allow me to demonstrate. Create a reminder for tomorrow at 3 p.m. hey, Chris, don't forget to drink some water.
Here's your reminder.
Worked. I think a lot of people that have been having trouble with that just failed to understand. You have to raise to use raise to speak. Siri shortcuts should work on the Apple Watch, and I don't think I've had a single one actually work yet. There's always some sort of thing, like it can't open the app right now or something. So I hope that gets fixed, because that's a feature I want to use. One of the absolute best new features on the Series 4 is the smoother, faster, upgraded performance, which honestly makes a huge difference. It's supposed to be 50% faster, but all I care about is that there's almost no waiting. Whereas before, I just wouldn't do certain things because I knew it was gonna get hung up and I'd have to wait, and now things happen almost instantly. Apple says the battery life will last up to 18 hours, which is a classic case of under-promise and over-deliver. So if we have better battery life, then why don't we have an always-on ambient power-saving display? Well, I don't know if this is the answer, but think about it for a second. When you glance at your watch, do you wanna see a dumbed-down power-saving mode with just the time, or do you want an actually powerful, useful, real watch face? And also, what's the point of it being on if you're not looking at it? So other people can look at it? I mean, it doesn't make sense. When it comes to the health and fitness features of the Series 4, I'm really excited about how proactive things are becoming. The automatic workout detection seriously surprised and delighted me when it popped up for the first time. I credit that very feature with finally helping me want to get healthier and more fit. Why? Because it captures that data, and I don't have to. Yeah, I can be lazy. But when I see that data, it gives me an overall bigger picture of my health and fitness situation. And when I see those numbers, then I want to improve upon them. The new health tracking features are cool because they might tell you if more things are wrong with your heart early enough that you might be able to go in and get it checked out by a doctor, which kind of feels like a form of insurance somehow. I read a bunch of Series 4 reviews, and I saw that Mashable was complaining that there was no sleep tracking built in, and I kind of laughed because that's true. There's not a native sleep tracking function, but there's a lot of sleep tracking apps that you can get. And I actually use one that I like a lot. I'll link it up down below. Although I actually use it on my Series 3 because I wear the Series 3 while I'm sleeping so that my Series 4 can charge every night. Notifications are grouped now, which I love. I've had no LTE connection issues, which is great. And opening web pages from links people have sent you has been kind of hit or miss for me. The biggest con I've seen anyone come up with is the price, and I can feel the pain there since upgrades can add up fast. $29 for a larger size, $100 for LTE, and $200 for stainless steel. Look, do you want the best or do you want the cheapest? Because you can't have both. Also, once you've got an Apple Watch, you'll almost certainly be able to sell it for a decent amount to help fund the next upgrade. So the Apple Watch Series 4 is definitely worth owning, but is it worth upgrading from the Series 3? Well, let me put it this way. I've been using both. I talked about that just a second ago, and I could not go back to the Series 3 after having used the Series 4. So keep that in mind. As long as you don't experience the new one, then you won't know what you're missing. But if you go into the store and you check it out, you try it on, you see that bigger screen, you see the performance upgrade, it's gonna be hard to live without it. So I got a few shots for today's video using Opie, a complete rethinking of the action camera. What's cool about Opie is that you can use it straight for a selfie stick-like angle or bend Opie into its own base or stand so you don't need to use a tripod. There's a single button for easy use, 4K video quality, digital image stabilization, a long-lasting battery, and ample storage. Opie comes in 3 colors and is available on Kickstarter right now. Check it out using the link down in the description. So that's it for my initial Apple Watch Series 4 review, but I have lots of extra content planned, including the story of using Apple's trade-in program to get this new Apple Watch, which, hint, was a disaster. Also, I plan on showing you how I've got my Apple Watch set up. What are the settings? What are the complications? What watch faces do I use the most? All that good stuff. If there's anything else you want to see, be sure to leave me a comment and let me know. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you're not already. Ring the bell and turn on notifications if you want to be in Notification Squad. Don't forget, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all over the place. I'm at Daily Tech, spelled daily. You know what it is, Tekk, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.